Yeah, so this is SigmaHacks 2.0. Last year, 1.0 was physical. So this 2.0 one was actually like unexpected. And we are planning to host a normal physical one later in the year, but then COVID happened. So we had to replan, and that this became a 2.0. Although it's kind of its own standalone event, not really a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hit me up for sponsorship next time.
Okay,
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, like, hackathon budgets have been getting bigger because hackathons try to outdo each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then sponsors are getting, like, there are more and more hackathons, and their budgets are getting bigger and bigger, and sponsors are slowly
Okay, the
giving
stream is ready.
The stream is ready?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Can you send over the link in our
Slack?
Yes.
I think Nikunj's.
Okay.
I sent, yeah.
Okay. And then Vaibhav, I'll send over what you need in just a sec.
Okay.
And then, okay. Vaibhav, I sent
Got
over
it, yeah.
your thing. Yep. Okay. And then Pranav, we're fully live, right?
Yeah.
With the delay, okay.
Great.
Then let's get this up and running.
Okay, we have 12 people watching.
12. Okay, yeah. We just sent out the announcement, so we'll wait a couple seconds and then, or a couple
just have people
minutes
hop on,
and then have people come in.
But I don't think that we can see any of their questions or anything because you're all moderating, right?
Yeah. We'll just feed in the questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Looks like we're all good to go. Should we get started? Vaibhav, if you're ready to get started?
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm hyped.
Okay. Hey hackers, hope your projects are coming along well so far. I'm Mukund, I'm the lead organizer for this event.
And I'm Vaibhav, and I'm the technology lead at SigmaHacks. We're fortunate to have some of Silicon Valley's top software leaders. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes answering any questions you may have. They're also part of the judging team for this event.
So would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, Ron can start with it, please, Ron.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ron Brashear. I'm the VP of Engineering at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Previously, I've been at VP of Engineering at a few other places, Oracle, and a bunch of startups. And I'm a startup kind of guy at heart. So I worked in basically every technology I can get my hands on. Gopal?
Awesome. Thank you, Ron. Hey, folks, my name is Gopal, and I lead Document Cloud, one of the verticals for Adobe, and engineering specifically. And I had a good experience earlier, like Ron, in the Bay Area for around 20 years with Oracle, Cisco, Sun Microsystems, you name those companies. Those are the areas, and I'm predominantly focused on enterprise applications and application/network security. So those are the areas where I got a good experience on.
And it looks like Ms. Mandel has joined as well.
Hi,
good morning, Ms.
apologize.
Mandel.
I thought the meeting was at 8:30.
No worries.
No worries.
You know.
So good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Sharon Mandel. I'm the CIO of Juniper Networks.
Great. So we've started the live stream. So the participants will feed in questions, and then we'll just go through them one by one, and then you can take turns answering. Not everyone has to answer the same question. And we'll try to get through as many questions as possible.
So
Alright.
that was really cool learning a little about you guys. So hackers, now is your chance to ask questions in the live chat, and we'll get to you guys one by one.
Okay, so one of the most popular questions that we've gotten is, what strengths do you think are most important in someone who is joining the software industry? It's like a recent grad or someone entering the industry for the first time.
Yeah, so maybe let me start with the initial one, and then I'll let other folks, because it varies between industry to industry, but in general, anybody joins it at this point of the time, it's not necessarily about the technical capabilities that you will learn the technology anytime, anything. It's a can-do attitude, and I can question the status quo. I am going to really, to make a contribution and make an impact on it. That's one of the key things. It doesn't matter whether they are a new hire or any level of experience. The way I look at it, and my industry, my experience is, I can do it. I'm willing to learn. It's mainly the attitude to learn and adapt to the changes, and technologies can be learned anytime on the fly too. So that would be my starting point. Maybe I think this is a good question. I would like all the judges to really even reflect their values. So Sharon and
yeah, sure. I would say the same thing. I think that openness, curiosity, willingness to learn, and not waiting for somebody to ask you to do it, but to be a little bit self-sufficient. And if you see something you're interested in, don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, don't hang out in the corner. Most people, most of us, while everybody's very busy, we want to help young, curious people learn new things. So we just need to be told you need some help, or even just where to look, right? So I would say, curiosity and a little self-starterism and an ability to ask questions and not be afraid.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think so also, like, being proactive and not hesitating to ask questions.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Brashear or Ron, do you have anything to add to that?
I love those answers. I would add in working with a team. Learning how to work with a team is actually a bit of a challenge, right? And that's one of the great things with the hackathons, is you get a chance to learn how to work with a team. Most of us begin our compute and technology journey isolated. We go off in a little dark room and we learn how to code and we spend our time in front of the screen, but it's really important to be able to learn how to work with the team and to see a piece that's wrong and take care of it for the team, or to help guide your team, or to pull something through the team. That's wonderful. But without a doubt, my favorite answer is still curiosity and the willingness to learn.
Yeah, actually, teamwork is actually super important in any project that people work on. In fact, a lot of hackers watching this stream right now are working with different people of various skill sets around the world that they actually never met before. So, and I'm sure a major part of your jobs are involving interacting with different professionals of different skill sets. So would you mind sharing any tips on communicating and collaborating effectively with people of different skill sets in your workspace?
Sure. So I'll tell you a little story about myself. So when I was your age and going through school, I had no idea I'd wind up being in technology. I thought I was going to be a ballet dancer when I grew up. And the price of entry for me to continue going to all of the classes and rehearsing and spending so much time away from school was that I had to be a perfect student. So I think when I started college, I was the anti-teamwork person. I was like, get out of my way. If I rely on somebody else, I'm going to fail. And so I wanted to be completely in control of my environment. And what you find out as you go to work, and especially as you become a manager and an executive, you don't do the work. It's your team that does the work and makes you successful. So I think the most important thing to bring to the table is an ability to listen to others. You are all, if you're doing hackathons, I am quite sure you are all very smart and very capable, but recognizing that you don't have all the answers, that you need not only people who look like you and have your skills to help you succeed, but you need the ideas of people who look at things from very different angles than you do to really create amazing, great things in the world. So, so listening and empathy and openness are really, really critical, and helping others feel heard and feel that their opinions are appreciated.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I think that is something that at least in like in my fellow like peers and classmates, soft skills like that are a little underrated or a little underappreciated, because a lot of our fellow peers or classmates place a huge emphasis on knowing all the technologies, knowing all the frameworks,
Mhm.
being super well versed and technical, but kind of uh, don't pay as much attention to working with others and having other uh, people skills. So I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, maybe I can just add one point on what just Sharon said. Just to add, the reason, one of the reasons why what Sharon said is so critical, listening, and is we call amplifying, right? You need to amplify others around you, because it's not just you, and you need to think about it, because by amplifying, by tapping their talent adds value. I always use this phrase, which I learned from one of my panelists in San Francisco. And she said beautifully, you all says 1 + 1 = 3. Typically you use that term to see that the team work. But she used 1 + 1 = 11. I said, what? So that's a kind of a where if the team members join together and if you do it, the impact is much, much bigger than anything. So collaborating, working with them, appreciating others' contribution adds to yours, and you add to them. That team effort, unbelievably important on it. So
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, especially for like events like this where it's all about working with a team and getting
Sharing
something
ideas and
done,
generating.
yeah, in a short period of time with the team.
Yep.
Okay, Five, do you want to go on to the next question?
Okay. Another popular question that we had is how has technology changed your job? Just like, and how is it going to change in the future? What is the future outlook for jobs in the tech space?
I think Ram should take it first.
I'm a big futurist. Yeah, the technology, there's plenty of space for technologists. Do not fear. As Sharon says, if you have that curiosity and you're willing to grow, there'll always be space. I think all of us, the judges here, remember working in lower protocols, lower stacks, and things have evolved. I used to have to type the HTTP streams directly into Telnet to debug things, okay? Before there was a good curl command.
I do remember
You remember those? Yeah, 2 returns. Anyway, nowadays we're working at higher and higher levels. Now I don't write much HTML anymore at all. I work in IDEs and I barely write CSS. And I'm going to quit writing SQL. I'm going to move into higher levels with GraphQL, and one level above that, and one level above that. And that is really what we see happening again and again. And even with machine learning now, we're seeing that the abstraction of the models and the model construction is becoming a different beast as we try and explore. Mm-hmm. So not only will you get to participate in those new levels, but you'll help drive those levels. As you work with these tools, you're going to start to see these repeated patterns and concepts, and you're going to say to yourself, man, we shouldn't have to do that again. We should make a tool or a language or a construct one level above that. And that's that's where SD-WAN came from. That's where all these great layering technologies came from. So I think that's one thing to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, okay, so like higher and higher levels of abstraction, and so that we're focusing on higher and higher levels and the computer handles things lower down.
Thank goodness.
What I think, one of the funny things being in this field for so long is sort of everything old is new again. And it's just taken a different shape and form. And what I think, the hope has always been that rather than having to rewrite things from scratch in the new technology, you're assembling bits and pieces to create bigger solutions. And I'd say one of the great disappointments is we haven't quite gotten there yet, right? But we're closer. And with every iteration of the technology, we're closer and closer to that. And at my last company, Tibco, which was about, really integration of components, I think you see this world going more and more fragmented and people trying to build sort of the best widget that can be assembled together. But yet when they get popularity, those APIs are understood. So when I talk to the product managers, and I'm sorry, there are people working in my backyard, so I apologize for the noise, but I had a dream that, well, we all know what these APIs are, right? Everybody, the Salesforce API is well known, APIs into, Google or Microsoft's products are well known, into the social media networks are well known. Why does a developer have to keep coming and doing that again every time they move from company to company? The software now ought to have the capability of recognizing those patterns and allowing us to think about a different level of problem solving. So that's my dream, that we actually kind of continue to get closer and closer to that realization.
That's definitely really important. I feel like in these hackathons, that's starting to come because people are using existing frameworks, languages, libraries, and sort of getting competence from everywhere in order to create a project of their own. But yeah, that is very important and relevant, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think one other thing which I think Ron and Sharon said, which I couldn't stop, is that it's in a cycle. I'm basically a chemical engineer, not a software engineer to start with. I graduated as a chemical engineer, but I started learning in a chemical industry in India 20 years back. It's all about instrumentation. At the time, we did analog to digital conversion. So it's a probe, putting it in the pipeline and getting it. So then we take the data and then do it, convert it into digitization, and then use that into the software field. The same thing we are doing it now, like in a different way. We take the data, analyze it, and then put it. So the technology-wise, I think we are going on circles. But I think one of the key thing is that, as both Ron and Sharon said, it's all abstracted to a level. Now your goal would be what problem you're trying to solve. It's not about what it is. And the technology is available, it is evolving. And you have to keep up to the speed on that one, because I wrote PL1. I'm not sure even many people know what is a PL1, programming language 1, and COBOL, CICS. These are all those days too. That's why I started on it too.
Key punch cards.
Exactly. So, and then I moved into Sun Microsystem work. I had a pleasure of working with James Gosling, who's the father of Java. So in the same team. So then I started learning it too. But the reason I'm saying is that, but nothing changed except the customer problems are the same and the solution is the same. What technology goes underneath is the only one changing on it. So my input would be, like in the hackathon, you are doing it, you're solving a problem. Whatever the technology underneath, I think you feel better fitted as long as you solve the problem to see that it's all that it's needed. And that's how I see it as future. As Ron said, machine learning, all of them, it'll be there, all of those, and then you will be trying to find out what problem I have to solve, and it'll be very quick to solve rather than going and sitting and coding for 1,000 lines of code. No, you just drag and drop, you're done everything now, right? So that would be my experience so far, at least.
Yeah, and then we're seeing a lot more of that recently. I mean, even in hackathons, as Vaibhav stated earlier, like over the past year or two that we've been doing hackathons, which isn't too long, but we've seen that people are gradually, they're still trying to solve the same problems at hackathons, the same things, but they're using newer and newer technologies. They're using more higher level technologies. And there's been a lot more, just one of the specific examples you pointed out, there's been a lot more of drag and drop coding and a lot more of those types of abstractions that make it also more accessible to
Anyone,
new
like even
beginners. Yeah.
non-coders or
Yeah.
anyone.
Whereas before, I say a couple years ago, hackathons were viewed as like very technical, very inaccessible for people new to coding. But now, with all this new technology, it's been getting much easier to get into hackathons. Okay, and then kind of on that topic, on a live question that we've got is, um, what was the path you took to get where you are today, and how did you land in the job that you have today? Maybe Ron, we can start with you.
Sure. Someone came to me with a problem and said, "You write software, don't you?" And I said, "Yes." And so I worked on that problem and I solved it. And then we sold it to Intuit, and that was wonderful. And then I worked on another problem and it didn't work. I failed. And I repeated that 5 more times. Did a good one, failed one. Did a good one, failed one. And even my failures were pretty awesome. Like on live, amazing failure. An amazing technology that basically predated Google Stadia by 10 years.
No.
We were actually streaming games with 80 millisecond latency 10 years ago. Great stuff. Total failure because no one believed it. But then we have Tell Me, and Tell Me was an amazing win. First voice recognition in the cloud. Great stuff. So really, that was it for me. It was just go try and, as Gopal says, go try and solve a problem, especially one that I understand or one I'd want to use. On live and Tell Me are good examples. And if I fail, I fail. That's okay. I'm going to learn a ton. And in fact, the people I worked with at On Live, I still work with. They're still in my companies with me. We go around together and we still communicate with each other. So you build the relationships, you build those teams, and those teams extend beyond the boundaries of where you are. And you learn from each other, you learn from the failures, and you learn from the wins by solving problems.
Yeah, and then again, we'll try to relate this because a lot of the stuff you all have been saying are very similar in hackathons, and I think that's important for participants to realize. In hackathons, not everyone wins. A lot of the projects don't work. A lot of the projects don't win a prize, and I think that's important for participants to know. That's not a loss per se. They can learn from that and they can move on.
Absolutely.
All right. We have a lot of questions. So Vaibhav, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah. We have another question from a participant named Jensen David. He asked, do you have any advice for people who recently graduated from a boot camp about getting into the field? So I think this is a different camp type of route instead of the normal traditional university and schooling route.
Yeah, I can start on it. So I don't think that it maybe depends on the industries where they wanted to go. I don't know that person, what area it is. But at this point, used to be 20 years back when I came in here, which university, what Ivy Leagues, and kind of those things are at this point, it's gone. It's as long as you have the talent, you have it as an academy or a boot camp where you are. You just showcase your whatever the things you have done it. And say, this is the skill I learned it, this is the problem I see it, and this is the thing I can do it. And the way in which you present yourself in whatever the form it is that's what we are looking for. As I started originally, it's not about you have to come from a top school, not necessarily at all nowadays, because it's all people learning from different avenues, and the diverse way we look into the entire industry is completely changed. I don't want people to think that, oh, I come from a school in the corner somewhere, which is not named. Doesn't matter. That should never stop you. You have the skill and you have the aptitude. You have the gut to come and say that, yes, I can solve it. I can do it. I can add a value to your company. Anyone just speaks to me directly. When I interview someone, I'll just hire them in closing I simply don't care about any other thing, right? All the hirings, many of the hirings I done, I never even looked at it. What degree, where they come from, what is that you have done it, what you will do it. Do you have an aptitude and attitude to really do it? That's it. So I think I don't want them. Sometimes people feel that as, oh my God, I come from that kind of, please take away all of them. No, you are great. like any others, and you need to present yourself, show what you can do. That confidence, the boldness should be there. If you do that one, I'm sure that you can easily. I think Ron and Sharon can definitely share their viewpoint.
Yeah. I think, like anything in the world, there's solutions to handle kind of scale. And I think that makes it challenging for people who are a little bit unique and different. What I will tell you is, you got through that boot camp, you know what you're capable of, you can build things. You have to have persistence and confidence in yourself, and a belief that when there are companies out there that, their HR departments may screen out not having some degree or some particular thing. You have to just keep looking. And what I would say is try to get to know, go to meetups on the technology you're particularly good at and get to know other people. Because when people, there is always demand for smart people with skills. And it's having to find that unique way in the door, maybe. I do think companies, because the talent, there is a shortage of talent, they're becoming more open-minded, but I still see that some are less so. So don't worry about them, right? Go find your spot. And once you've gotten that first job and you've proven yourself, then that issue doesn't matter anymore, because they're looking at your experience, not your credentials.
Absolutely. I exactly what Sharon says. It's just so true. I would say the thing that I've changed in my orgs is that we look at your GitHub first. And in fact, your interview questions will be, hey, let's go through one of your projects in GitHub and show me the neatest, coolest thing you did in here that makes it interesting. Which is a great way to get to understand how well somebody thinks about their work and how they created something. And will they say, hey, someone else did this piece? And yeah, so absolutely. I just want to back that up and say, if you're coming out of boot camp, that's a good tip. Get your GitHub ready.
And I was going to say that some of the best recruiting engineering leaders I know, they follow who's contributing to the open source community, and they just skip the whole process and go right there. So that's another opportunity for you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, those are great points. I mean, especially living in the Bay Area, living in Cupertino, it's such a huge emphasis that's placed on getting into Stanford, getting to MIT, getting to an Ivy League. I think that's a really great point to bring across. And then those tips about GitHub and contributing to open source projects actually leads into another really popular question. What are projects, or what do you look for in someone's GitHub? What projects do you look for? Is there anything special? Maybe Ron, you can start.
Yeah, we're looking for not just someone who, a lot of GitHubs are filled with, I did this tutorial, and that's fine, but that's not exactly what I want to look at. I want to look at something that you've built that's original or is a contribution, per Sharon's comment, and particularly around the projects and technologies we use. So if there's a popular technology that you want to contribute to one of the tools around it, or even tests around it, that's a fantastic way to demonstrate that you know that technology. If you can test a technology, you know that technology. So that's a great one to show off in your GitHub. So be the things that you created and the projects you're committing to that are specific to the things we care about. That's one thing I would suggest.
Yeah, thank you. And that's also all these questions are tied very well together, and that actually kind of also relates to I'd say working on projects that kind of relate to the company or what the company is using, but also a lot of these hackers, they're also asking, how do I find what I'm interested in? Because a lot of people also put like passion projects on their GitHub, and a lot of our hackers are like, they don't know what their passion is, or they don't know what they're interested in. So their question is, how do we find our passion? How do we find our main interests?
And now that the technology field is so diverse, it's like from cybersecurity to data science to web development, You can do UX, UI design. There's so many different things that people can do. So I think people are really asking how can they find their true passion and their niche inside of this technology field.
I think that's experimentation. Uh, Trust me, as I said, I was a ballet dancer. When I graduated from school, what the advice I was given by one of my toughest and one of my favorite professors was, you know, don't just do what you're comfortable with, but try to understand where the world is going. You always hear this phrase, don't skate to where the puck is, but skate to where it's going. And then I landed with that general framework, funny enough, in a company where I wrote protocol stacks for a living and I was doing data communications. Over time, that just gave me a stepping stone to kind of connect to other things until I found what I was excited about. And it's not, I don't actually code anymore, right? I can still read code. I can still, if my engineers are in a debate, I can rip it apart with them. I stay up to date. I teach myself enough of new languages as they come along to do that. But my passion is really about creating teams and delivering technology that makes people more productive, which is why I wound up in IT rather than engineering. But funny enough, those early experiments gave me the story that made Juniper interested in me, because because I could connect all of the things that happened back to my career to what they fundamentally do for a living. So I think don't be afraid that you don't know. I always joke with people who are my age, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? That's always the question, asked. And I just, follow your curiosity, try something, try it on. If it's not the right thing, use that learning to try the next thing, and you will find it over time. It's just keeping that momentum, and having that growth mindset. That's something that people talk about a lot. Always be a beginner at things and be willing to experiment. And
Yeah.
the resources are amazing to do that today. They didn't really exist when we were young. Like we had to go get jobs or find things to do that, right?
Yeah, I absolutely, Sharon and Ron. I think one thing I'm still amazed. First, I mean, I should see the happiness, and I haven't met Ron or Sharon here, but I think when he said it's amazing failures, with a smile and on it, I said, "Oh my God, I really wanted to." So you all should have the similar one, because those failures, those passion, and I'm trying to attach that with it. A passion specifically, you will not find out immediately, but at the moment you wanted to do something, just go and attempt it. And because the way in which you want to find out your passion is contributing. You have an intention to contribute, right, to the community, to the customer base, through the work. It should be in a coding, right, whatever way. So that's a passion. And people look at, okay, oh, you want to help people. All at the end of the day, whatever we do, we all in different levels at the software, but what we do is we are helping people, either within the company, our own team, or helping the customers who are also people outside. In general, all of them is a helping. Even though it's our job, if we don't have that intention of I am helping, if a customer is calling us, and if we say that there is a bug, the product you delivered, my things are down, kind of, we don't complain, then we just jump in. It's all helping. The moment you have that helping tendency, anywhere you go, your passion will come out. And for some of us, maybe we landed in area where we are, but your passion, maybe, yeah, as I said, I tell many of my new hires, I said, given your passion and speed, I hope someday I will work for you, right? Because we learn few things, but their passion, their curiosity, their way to really help. So don't worry about it. You have a passion. Just even asking that question itself, I would say that's a great first step on, okay, what is my passion? How do I find out? Just go and attempt it. And since you have the willingness, curiosity, as Sharon said, and never hesitate to fail. And I'm going to use Ron's one, going to be always, I would like to look for that amazing failures kind of, because you need to take those input. As Sharon said, take that as a first step. It just shines like a diamond, right? You will get a lot of those things and you will shine at the end. So I would say the passion is attempt it. The only thing I would just say, never hesitate. Put your stuff inside. If not, if you think about twice, thrice, people say think twice before act. I'm sorry. If you want to contribute, you want to help people, jump in. You will learn it, right? That's the way I would say that passion will come out. And if people will find your passion, say, oh my God, you're too good at, can you help me? Then you will be directed towards.
Yeah, I think those are all really great ways to find passion. Another thing is actually participating in these type of hackathons or coding competitions is where you can actually demonstrate your skills and actually find your true passion. So this is a really nice way to actually trial and error and think of different ways. Looking at our chat, we have a question actually specific to Miss Mandel, and they're asking any tips for aspiring entry-level female engineers.
Wow.
Don't let the boys get you down.
Thank you.
No, so again, I think clearly my advice, and I hear a lot of things today about what happens to young women in our field, and I was fortunate enough to not experience much of that, or I just wasn't paying attention to it. And I suspect all of it was around me, because I don't think the world is all that different today than it was back then, other than there's better tools. So I think, my advice has always been to focus, understand, really listen and understand what's being asked of you. Work hard. And I think this advice is true for the guys too, right? The people who show their passion, work hard, and consistently deliver results will ultimately be recognized. And if you feel that that's not happening to you somewhere for long enough and you can't break through it, go find somebody who will, because they're there. Focus on the big things, right? Like, all the time people are saying things that might annoy you, might frustrate you, might get in your way. Just stay focused on the goal and stay focused on the prize, and try not to let the noise get in the way. I think it's an amazing field for women. There's just so much opportunity, and once you have that technical background, it is an amazing launching point if you decide you don't want to stay technical, because there's virtually no job in the world that doesn't have to understand technology. So, if you're a great engineer and that's your passion, stay that course, and don't let anything kind of bother you or stop you. And, if you find out that that's not what you really want to do, man, you have this incredible leverage, whether it's, in marketing, sales, management, just having the background that you do. So just go have fun with it and try not to let the noise get in the way.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And again, tying back to finding your passion and keeping up the momentum, these all tie together, like back to making sure you don't get knocked down or you don't give up when something doesn't go your way or something doesn't work. And it's kind of working to always understand why it didn't work, or understanding what you can do to make it better, or understand what different tools you can use to make it succeed. And I think that's something that they can definitely learn from hackathons. And that's great, because in the past 10 years, hackathons have been getting more and more popular. So I think, especially now, with all the hackathons out there, all the technical or non-technical resources we have, it's great for young people like us, and even like slightly older compared to us college students, to go from there. And we actually have a
We know people our age who are still participating in hackathons. So this is,
yes, exactly.
We call them programming contests. I actually, when I was in college, there was an organization, the Association for Computing Machinery, which is still out there. And, I got to meet amazing people because I helped organize, my university hosted the national conference, and I helped organize the programming contest for, I think there were 200 students from around the world participating who came to Philadelphia. And through that work, which, again, I wasn't the one who was the best, I didn't make the team from my university that went, but I could still participate in other ways and contribute. And through that, I met amazing people who were, I met the woman who ran the ACM at the time was Adele Goldberg, who is one of the inventors of the small talk language. And again, for the young women out there, that showed me that there were people who looked like me who had made it to the top of the field and gave me confidence that I could do it. And although I didn't wake up every morning saying, well, I want to make it to the top of my field, I just, again, followed my passion and delivered good work. So, you can participate in these things in many ways, and I encourage you to keep doing so throughout your career, not just now that you're young.
Yeah, so maybe I just want to add one point what Sharon said on the woman who asked, but I hope I can also just say something.
Go ahead.
Please.
On it, because I do. The reason I say is that that's a question I face it at work many times, especially whenever you join. Okay, what's your diversity? How many women you have at your work, your leadership, kind of. But one thing I'm a fully supportive of all those initiatives. You might look into it. As a woman, the only thing which I would tell that person and even all other women in this call is you never look yourself down, because many times I've seen in interviews and others is that, can I do with that kind of, no, you can, and you bring a beautiful different perspective on the table with the other gender on the other side. So in my personal opinion, I get benefited. I work for women leaders. I had my women colleagues. I had many women leaders under me, worked for me. I learned from my daughter, who is right now is a frontline worker. She is a doctor there, but I learned from her, right? So I'm not saying that it doesn't matter a age or a level what it is, a different perspective, the way in which they look at the same problem. And I said, oh my God, I never had a chance to look into it, right? At home, mom and dad, they look at the same problem in a different ways, right? To solve it. So I don't want anyone, the only thing I advise on top of what Sharon said is never look down on yourself, that you are a woman, whether you can penetrate. No, you are equal with everyone. You should have that one, and just because that will give you more confidence, because your perspective is equal or better than others. That's how I wanted you to look into it. The doors are open for everyone at this current situation. So never think about it, that you're a woman, whether you can. So Ron, you may want to add for you, it looks like.
You know it. This is such an important topic. And thank you for asking the question. With respect to the hackathons, the most successful teams will be the ones that create a safe space for their engineers to work, for all their team members to work. So I'm not going to speak necessarily to the young lady who asked the question, but to everybody. When you're on a team, making a safe space has been proven to be the most effective thing to make a team better. Google did years and years of research to figure out what makes a good manager. Turns out they don't matter that much. Sorry. What really matters is the team feels safe, that they can contribute, that they can speak up and be heard. So that is our responsibility as team members, and to make sure that everyone gets heard. And we learned that, for example, in these hackathons.
Yeah, making sure like everyone gets heard, everyone feels safe working with each other, no one feels like pressured to do one thing or another. These are all really important topics, and especially in a lot of hackathons, people work with strangers or people they haven't met or worked with a lot before. So these are really important points, especially for this content.
Can I make one more point? And
sure.
I feel really honored to have met these two great gentlemen, but there weren't a lot of women in the field when I was coming up. And I will say that while I had women I looked up to, the people who gave me opportunities were really good and decent men. And I had, and again, I think both Gopal and Ron said, there are guys I went to college with who, the one who helped get me off the key punch machine. And I've taught classes at Santa Clara, and he's come and guest lectured. Like those people who you find who will support you, stay close to them, because it's not just people who look like you who are going to give you the opportunities, and so seek those people out, where good people are out there and all around you, and you just have to find them and hold them close to you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm sure the participants will appreciate all of this. The next question is a little unique and a little different from the path we've been taking so far. So I'll just jump into it. What are some of your favorite books on the industry or in technology?
Soul of a New Machine. It's very old, but it's a great story that I think could inspire people, whether they're technical or not today. That'll give you a little history of how things worked in our industry a while back, but I think you'll see the same things in the companies that you join today.
Thank you.
By Tracy Kidder.
Okay.
That's definitely a good recommendation for a chat.
Okay, Babu, do you want to move on to the
Okay,
next question?
we've been asking a lot of questions about advice and tips, but the participants seem to want to know a little more about you guys. So they asked, what is your favorite part of your job?
Please let me go with this one. I love to learn from smart people. I only hire people who are smarter than me. It's not that hard to do, unfortunately, but I really love to just go find a genius in this particular area and say, please teach me what you're doing. I want to understand this. That's how I learned machine learning. That's how I learned SIP, VoIP. That's how I learned PL SQL and GraphQL. And so I love that.
I love it when people that have worked for me, that I've coached and mentored, have gone on to have jobs that are better than I do. I guess that's the mom in me.
That's a really good answer too. I like that too.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely, you both, as I said, yes, I think Ron absolutely said, I want to be surrounded by the smartest people. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room, period. That's the right from the beginning, right? Irrespective of the level. So that's the way I personally, I grew here. As I said, I started as a chemical engineer, had no clue about coding. And it's only then I started with the Foxbase. I don't know, you all maybe.
I remember Foxbase.
Yes, but that's where my first programming started on Foxbase on it. But after that, as Ron said, I was really trying to learn from them. As long as you say, I don't know, I wanted to learn, right? That's a culture, doesn't matter what level. Today, even whenever I go into my team, whatever the team size I have it, when I walk in, if I don't know, so I don't know. Not because of the title I have means I have to know all of them. Absolutely not. And many times I think you folks know in the call, in the world, knows much, much better than what we know. Absolutely, as Ron said, and it'll be good. And even I was scared. I was asking Mukund and the rest of the team, oh my God, we are going to judge your code and stuff. I don't know, maybe the concept will have because many of those things, I don't know the language you might have used it to because I'm not, right? So the way in which we recognize, as Sharon said and Ron, we wanted to be among the smartest people, and we accept that you don't pretend to be. That's what we all typically. I don't want to pretend that I know everything. Absolutely not. Today, even I said I don't. If you go with that, and that's why we were all here. And personally, I'm still learning every day, and I don't want to say that I'm expert in everything. The only thing we gained, I'm sure that Sharon and Ron both, in the last 20 plus years, we are all in this industry, the experience we gained, the scars we have on our thing, that's all we want to share with you, because it's not about the expertise, it's about the experience we gained on every situation. Many times we failed and got up and do it. That's why I said, there are too many scouts behind all of us, right? So that's all the only thing we have it. And so we still constantly learn, and just be with the people, recognize others who are much smarter, accept the reality and go with it. You don't have to defend. You don't have to defend that you are the better than others. No, everyone brings their own value, add it. I think that's how I grew, and still I am wanted to. So
Yeah, that's actually really cool. Actually, again, coming back to these hackathons and joining these conferences and different coding events, it's really cool to interact with different people. And then in these different events is where people can find people who are smarter than them, or people who may hold more like knowledge in certain aspects of technology, so they can learn from them. So it's really cool to participate at these various events in order to get more knowledge from others. And a lot of people actually in the chat also want to learn about how the culture is like in your company, so wherever you guys work.
sure, Sharon, you or Ron, you can start and then I'll work.
Sure. Well, I'm very new to my current company. I've only been with Juniper. I just finished my 5th week. But I think that in addition to the kind of skills you're going to build in yourself, you want to find a company that kind of fits a bit of your style. So Juniper's, my experience so far is it's a very product and engineering. It's got a lot of pride in the things that they've invented. And the difference that they feel they make to their industry. So a very technical culture, but also one where you feel everybody is supporting everyone else to try to make the company successful. And so to make the company successful, we have to make each other successful. I work for the CEO, Rami, and part of the reason I took the job is I could tell from some of the things he asked me about creating teams and about how I think about teams and leadership made me feel that I was going to a place that had the same values that I did, which again is how do you bring lots of different voices with different skills and backgrounds to the table to focus on some end goal. And to do that, you have to create alignment in that team. And that requires, a certain set of empathy and listening and not feeling like you have to be the one who's right in the room to get there. So a very collaborative culture, I'd say.
So the culture, so just like Sharon, I just finished week 1 in this current position. So, but one of the reasons I went to this company was because of the culture, right? The technologies I work on are popular everywhere. So yay, I'm a popular kid right now. But the technologies are only one part of it. It's the culture, the nature of collaboration, the nature of learning, and the nature of they also care a lot about seeing the product in use. One of the things that most motivates any engineer is seeing their stuff get used, right? Salespeople and marketing people like to get acrylic plaques. We like to see our stuff get used. That's what gets an engineer going. If I see that my Git repository's got 5,000 stars, I'm pretty jazzed, So the fact that they really want their stuff to be used and have an impact on customers, the fact that they care a lot about the community, those are the cultural things that drew me on top of the collaborative and the way they do work. So the only thing I'd say about culture is if you do go to a larger company, they should have a culture defined, because at some point you got to sort of guide the culture and make that visible, so as you hire, there's some consistency and some general agreement to culture. In startups, culture tends to sort of arise on its own based on who you hire. And so you got to be very careful and understand the people you're going to work with there. So a little tip there on if you join a big company or a small one.
Yeah, and thank you. And I will add one more. As I introduced earlier, I work for Adobe. As Ron said, definitely these kind of corporates definitely put what their values. If you could go and search, you will see it. For Adobe, I just wanted to talk about it. Even though I've worked in many other industries like Netscape, Sun, Oracle, Cisco, you name it. Each company has its own culture values sometimes based on the business, based on the customer base, right? And then they will define that values. And in Adobe, one thing which I learned, which I'm really, really proud of, not because I'm staying in Adobe, that's why I need to say good things about it. It's not because I said, I never knew that in a software industry where when you look at art, right? Adobe is famous for Photoshop and you name any of them. And the artists, and I never seen any software company being valued that way. When I walked in the last 2 years, I'm experiencing it. The culture is, it is the value of the differences in other stories and ideas and how everyone wants to be heard and how genuine it is. The genuinity, you should see it. It's not about since because you are on a PhD in computer science, or no, as an artist, you cannot put that everything. The culture is to enhance everyone, be genuine and be involved. That means everybody involved. In a team, if you look at it, there is an artist, there is a photographer, there is, when I look at it, I said, it's a coder is one. Yes, there's one part of the piece of the puzzle, but everybody's involved. They really, Adobe at this point, you should look at that. Like other companies like Juniper and HP, they're all great in what their values define. So every company defined it. So in my opinion, I feel so good about Adobe culture because it's a uniqueness. Bringing every uniqueness is a value in building a product or a value to a customer. That culture, the openness is unbelievable. That's the culture we are living through. And I take that to home. I take it to the city I work with because I do actively involve in the community in the city where I live in. So I take those values and I was coaching interns right now. There are a lot of interns, again, like you all are remote. When I talk to them, I said, whatever you learn this culture, it's not just applicable to the work. Take it back to your school. Take it back to your home when you apply, right? Amplifying others, enhance the team, rethink the routine, open up. These are the values we say. Those are the things you think about it, applicable to everyone. So that's a culture. So that's a culture we live in, and I'm so proud of it, like Juniper and HP and other companies. So hopefully that gives, and you add a value to the culture. Don't just think that that's a culture I need to fit in. Kind of, you can just amplify those culture values.
Yeah, and those are all really good points that tie back into the entire field of technology and as well the spirit of hackathons and working with each other and being accepting to other opinions and ideas and not always being the smartest one in the room, not always being like the dominant one in the room, just being accepting and open to new ideas and new comments. That looks like all of the questions that we have for today. So we can wrap it up there.
And that's amazing. Ms. Mandel, Mr. Brashear, and Mr. Kumarappan, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We know how busy you all are, and this was an honor and pleasure to talk with you and help our hackers worldwide tuning into this stream. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah, good luck for all the hackers and just have fun.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow.
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 Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, you can leave the call and then we can wrap up on our end.
Beautiful.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.